All right, a quick disclaimer. This collection of Google Ads guides is content that I produced from 2018 to 2021. Some of it you can still apply. Some of it is slightly outdated due to interface changes in Google Ads and Google Analytics, and some of it is an archive of how Google Ads worked previously. The first several dozen videos will be released for free on YouTube. The rest you can get instant access to, including the scripts, keyword lists, and files using the link in the description. I'm working on sharing all of my knowledge with you on advanced Google Ads marketing after being in this game for over 12 years. So if you like this content, make sure to subscribe and ring the notification bell. Leonidas here, and let's begin. Welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to go ahead and use a very popular tool in order to steal competitor keywords. So the tool in question here that we're going to use is called SpyFu. It's one of the tools that I like to use in order to spy on keywords, as well as essentially just take them as my own and then run them to see how well they convert. So in this tutorial, we're going to go ahead and log into SpyFu. Then we're going to go ahead and type in a seed keyword. We're going to see a list of competitors and advertisers that SpyFu has listed for that specific keyword. We're going to view the keywords of one of those competitors or advertisers. And then we're going to go ahead and group the keywords that SpyFu provides for us. All right, so then we'll be able to export them, and then ultimately we're going to convert them into broad match modifier, and we're going to convert them into the appropriate format for importing into the Google Ads editor. And within the Google Ads editor, I'm going to create a very simple campaign, the most basic, because you have previous experience on how to use a Google Ads editor already. And then I'm going to provide you some tips when you run traffic to these keywords that you're essentially getting from your competitors. And then ultimately, we're going to steal some ad copy as well using this tool, and then ultimately a review. So let's go ahead and begin. This tool has been around for quite some time. I remember using it when I first started off with pay-per-call, and I log into it and pay the monthly membership on the occasion. For the most part, I only pay for about a month in order to get the keywords necessary for perhaps a specific campaign or offer that I'm testing out for the very first time. And ultimately, I use this tool for perhaps about 20% of my campaigns. But if I'm jumping into a brand new niche, a brand new offer that I've never tested before, then this is a great way to accumulate keywords from the competitors of people who are already running the traffic for quite some time. So let's go ahead and log in. Now, I'm not going to cover every single feature of this tool. Instead, we're going to go ahead and focus on our mission objective, which is to generate keywords for a specific niche. So to start off, we're going to type in lawyers. And you can see that lawyers on a monthly basis, there's about 18,000 queries for the keyword lawyer. Now, you can see similar keywords that are related to lawyers. So basically, they use lawyer as the seed keyword, and then they attach whatever other things that Google might show up. And then we have questions. So for example, what they do is they type in the keyword lawyer, and then they add an H, or they add an S, or they add a W, and then it displays into the Google search engine what is a lawyer, how much does a lawyer make, simply by putting the letter as well into the search box. But this is not what we're looking for specifically. What we want to do is we want to go down here and we want to see who are the most successful advertisers and their best ads. So in this case, we can see that one of them is Just Answers. So that would generally be a very generic kind of website that has just answers for everything. But then we also have Monterrey.attorney. So that's a very specific location within California. And then we also have other websites such as legalhelp.info. So that's potentially a affiliate marketer if we look at their ad copy. So you can see 24/7 call support. And this basically means that this is a pay-per-call offer. And then of course, lawyers.com and ask a lawyer on call. So that's potentially another affiliate advertiser. So in order to get some keywords, we're going to go ahead and to the top here once more, and we're going to go into advertiser history. And once again, this displays the results for advertisers within the lawyer niche. Now, some of these are very location centric. So for example, Virginia, or a very specific law firm such as Moretti. But what we want to do is we'll simply go to one of the top competitors, and we can do
lawyers.com, but let's go ahead and sort by monthly budget. So we can see info.com, they spend about $14 million per month. But let's go to something that looks more appropriate. So for example, LegalZoom or Legal Shield. But you can clearly see that they're currently not running any ads. So they might have paused for whatever reason. Maybe something wasn't converting for them. So instead, we're going to go down to here, lawyers.com, and we can see that they're still running ad copies. So we're going to go ahead and click on lawyers.com. And then within lawyers.com, on the first page that it shows up, it shows us as ad history. So on this page, you'll be able to see the ad copies that are most effective and most profitable for lawyers.com. Now, this isn't what we need right now. This is going to be essentially the bonus you can use to create your ad copy later on if you don't know how to create a high converting ad copy for the specific niche. But what we want to do is we want to go to PPC keywords. And here are the keywords that we're most interested in. So we can see employment attorneys, employment lawyers, malpractice attorneys, lawyers near me, find a lawyer. And we can see how much that SpyFu has calculated using various metrics in order to calculate how much this particular advertiser, lawyers.com, is advertising for each one of these keywords. So we can see $8, $9, $8, $10, and then the monthly cost as well, and then the ad position. So we can see that lawyer.com is generally very focused on trying to get the top position. So they have a very, very large budget and they're very willing to spend a high amount of money in order to get the top position. As much as this looks like an awesome list that you can simply import, sometimes these lists can have, for example, as it shows here, 60,000 keywords. There are limitations on how many keywords you can import per ad group in Google Ads. So this won't be very appropriate for us. As well, a lot of these keywords might not necessarily be related to one another. So for example, labor law might not necessarily be related to medical malpractice. So this is just an example. Or for example, real estate lawyer is obviously not related to employment lawyer. All right, so what we want to do is we want to somehow group all of these. The reason that I really like SpyFu is that it does this automatically for you. This is one of the very few tools that it takes all these keywords, the 59,000 keywords, and then it groups them for you automatically. So to do that, we simply go into keyword groupings. So within keyword groupings, you can now see that it automatically creates ad groups for us. So this is one of the super fantastic tools. If you're running offers that pertain to hotels, for example, and within hotels, there's at least 1 million keywords. Sometimes you're running a niche, for example, for auto parts, and that niche also has like 1 million different keywords. So what you want to do is you want to somehow group them in order to minimize how many keywords are per ad group. So you can ultimately import all of this into a single campaign. So you can see the top keyword groupings here, and you can actually choose how many ad groups you want to create. Now, the less ad groups there are, the less it starts to divide up the keywords. So I won't go into very in-depth specifics on how it groups the keywords, but it tries to look at the similarities. So for example, if there are large similarities between lawyer and then divorce, then it will try to group as many divorce keywords into a single ad group. Now, obviously there's a lot of overlap. For example, divorce lawyer or lawyer divorce, that's crazy amount of overlap, as well as lawyer for divorce. I mean, you can pretty much just remove the word for, or divorce lawyers, but it's trying to group the keywords as much as possible, as algorithmically as possible. So you can also go down here, you can also see divorce as another ad group, and that would essentially have a lot of overlap with the previous keywords as well. But for the most part, once you import these into Google Ads Editor, then you can start to disable keywords that start to look alike as they start to gain impressions. So I'll explain that a little bit later in the tips part of this video. But for now, one key tip is that if there are 100,000 keywords that this website is advertising under, then I would recommend doing the top 1,000. If there are 1 million keywords, for example, then I would recommend doing top 25,000. Obviously, the more keywords you have, the more you need to group them in order to get them into a single campaign. But for the most part, 100,000 keywords and under, you can just keep it as top 1,000. So one last thing here is that when it's creating the ad groups, you can see that it's going to make an ad group with the keyword divorce in it, and it's going to put 105 keywords into that ad group. And we can see it's going to make an employment ad group as well with 47 keywords. Now, this is obviously not important. All you need to do is simply select one of these options. So we'll go ahead and select top 1,000, and then we're going to select export over here on the right side, and then export all keywords. So once it's exported, we open it up. we can see that it's segmented our keywords into a top level group and a secondary level group. And then we can see the keyword that we're going to actually bid on. So in order to import this into our Google Ads editor, we need to create the formatting for that. So in order to do that, we'll go on the right side here and we'll type in campaign, ad group, and keyword. So the campaign is the campaign that you're going to create. It can already be an existing campaign that you created previously. Just make sure you type in the correct name with the correct capitalizations. Or it can be a completely new campaign that you're going to import into the Google Ads editor and then ultimately implement the settings within the editor itself, as well as within the web editor as well. So to start off, we'll simply do PPCB, which is our affiliate network, which is just an example, right? And then we're going to do lawyers, and then we're going to do SpyFu, and then we're going to do lawyers.com. All right. So we'll enlarge that. Now we'll try to double click on this. If when you double click on this little box right here, it doesn't expand all the way down, we simply delete one of these columns here. We'll delete that. And now it should allow us to expand it all the way down to the number of keywords that we have. Now for the ad group is going to be a concatenation of the two keywords here, the two ad group levels. So in order to do that, we'll do equals, the first column there, ampersand, quotations, space, quotations, ampersand, and then the second column. So that's going to be the name of our ad group that it's going to be imported into, the keyword itself. And then the keyword we have to convert to broad match modifier. So to do that, once again, you do equals, quotations plus quotations, ampersand. We'll do sub, which is substitute. And we're going to substitute text in this column. We're going to do a comma, and we're going to do a quotations, space quotations. So we're looking for all the spaces that are in this column once again. And then we're going to do comma once again, quotations, space, plus quotations, and then bracket. So that converts our keyword into broad match modifier. Now, the reason you want to do that is because Google, when it does broad match, when it just goes by this, it will literally make you bid on the worst keywords possible. And now lately, because Google isn't showing you all the keywords that it's showing your ads on, this is a very high risk if you go with broad match. So instead you want to do the broad match modifier, which is with the plus. So once that's ready, we're going to import this into our Google Ads editor. So once you're in your Google Ads editor, you can go ahead and import your campaign. So to do that, once again, you go into the keywords section down here, and you can see that it's only displaying my locations here. So in order to display all the columns, we'll simply do that, and then we'll unselect hide empty types, just in case you're having that issue. Expand that. We'll select keywords, and then we'll select make multiple changes. And then in the box right here, we'll select campaign, ad group, and keyword. So we're going to go ahead and once again, copy all of this and paste. So you can see that it's all been imported appropriately into the campaign, ad group, and the keyword. We'll select process and finish and review changes. So there we go. It'll ask us if we want to keep our changes. Select yes, keep, and we can see that our campaign is pretty much ready. So I'm going to set it up on a very basic level. We'll do a budget of 0.01, right? Then we'll go into targeting, and we'll always do manual CPC because we're professional Google Ads marketers. And then we'll disable enhanced CPC for now. Include search network enabled, include search partners disabled. Ad schedule, we'll have to edit that within the web editor itself. And then everything else is pretty much good to go. And then we'll go into ad groups. And then we can see that all of our ad groups currently don't have a bid. So in order to do that, we'll do a $1 bid. So one of the tips is that when you're importing these keywords, I really highly recommend that you set a very low bid, because in a list of, in this case, we've only imported 2,780 keywords, which is what it ended up exporting for us within the SpyFu tool. A lot of these keywords might not pertain to what you want to promote. Sometimes, let's say you get keywords from your competitor, they might not just be advertising, for example, immigration lawyers, they might also be advertising real estate lawyers. And let's say, for example, you're only advertising immigration lawyers, so you want to bid as low as possible in order to see what ultimately ends up gaining impressions. So once again, we added the maximum CPC, and then once we go ahead and select post, it'll post our campaign, and within the keywords, it'll tell us if we have any errors should need fixing. once it's imported, we can see that there's a few errors. So keep in mind when you're importing lists from whatever source, there's always going to be errors. And in this case, you're going to have to go in and fix some of them, or you can go ahead and just leave them because you're still going to have an overabundance of keywords. But nonetheless, you want to see what the errors pertain to. So we'll go ahead and select close. We'll go back to our keywords and we'll select this little red thing up here, and we can see the keyword issues. So we can see that med are pharmacy related content, so we don't want to run those. Those are going to be completely useless. And then need an attorney with a question mark. We want to just remove the question mark right there. And then we can also see that this keyword actually already exists. So ultimately we can just delete it and remove. There we go. So now our campaign is good to go. And then once again, you're going to have to go into the campaign editor within the web browser itself in order to edit the settings to be appropriate for what you need, as well as create the ad copy, add the conversions, as well as the location targeting, the ad schedule, and any audiences that you want to implement. So now let's go back to our SpyFu tool. We're going to go back to our ad history. And here we're going to look at some of the ad copies that this particular advertiser is running. Now, let's say, for example, you are running immigration lawyers. So we can actually isolate down to the immigration lawyer ads and just type in immigration and filter. So now we see all the top ads within the immigration niche. And these little boxes right here indicate that the ad copy has changed. So when there's different colors, for example, it just indicates that it's changed in some form or another. If there's no arrow, then it indicates that there was no particular change within the ad itself. So when we look at the ad copy on the right side here, find an immigration lawyer. This will be our headline number 1. This will be our headline number 2. And this can potentially be our description. You'll copy this first line right here. This will be your description line number 1, and this will be your description line number 2. What you can also do is you can actually replace this whole thing with a call in order to encourage the person that's clicking on it that they're going to essentially end up in a phone call. Or even at the top here, you can add an extra call in order to encourage the person to understand that they're not going to a website, but instead they're going into a phone call. Now, obviously, another strategy that you might have, let's say, for example, you don't want to go through the 100 or 1,000 ad groups that you already have, and keeping in mind that each ad group is going to have its own different keywords, you can ultimately just create an ad such as find an or find a, and then do a keyword insertion. So this line right here will insert whatever the keyword that the person is looking for. So in this case, it might be immigration lawyer, or it might be immigration attorney, or it might be real estate attorney, or it might be employment lawyer, for example. So you can just skip the entire ad creation process for every single keyword, every single ad group, and just make a generic ad that has the keyword inserted into it. Now, if, for example, you have a very, very, very specific targeted offer that only does immigration lawyers, then just keep it as immigration lawyer. Even if you're going to bid on every single keyword, you can still ultimately just do find an immigration lawyer, which I don't really recommend if you're going to be bidding on divorce lawyers and still be listing your ads as immigration lawyers. But nonetheless, you can keep that in mind. This might pertain to another niche, for example, I'm just going to give an example such as the flight niche. So in that case, you can just have a very generic headline such as find flight deals at 30% off, for example. You don't need to specify the destination. You don't need to specify the exact text that the person is typing into Google or the search keyword, because ultimately you are targeting only people that want 30% off in their flights. So let's go ahead and do our quick review. We reviewed the SpyFu tool. We did our seed keyword, which was lawyers. We looked at our list of competitors and advertisers. Now, keep in mind, we only looked at lawyers.com for today, but obviously you can go back into the list of competitors and you can essentially scrape all the keywords from every single one of them, keeping in mind that a lot of them do have overlap in their keywords, but ultimately you have the full list of keywords from everyone that's running within a specific niche. So it might be lawyers, it might be auto parts, it might be some kind of warranty offer. And then we looked at the PPC keywords. We grouped the PPC keywords. So this is one of my favorite parts of SpyFu. I don't know any other tool that currently does this grouping. And then we exported it according to our requirements. We converted it into the appropriate format for broad match modifier, as well as for importing into the Google Ads editor. We imported it into the editor, and then some tips when running the traffic. So once again, bid very low and look at the impressions that the keywords generate. So then you can ultimately turn off keywords that might not be relevant for your offer. So always, always, always bid low when you're importing large lists of keywords. And in this case, I would recommend just starting off with $1, for example, or even less. And also make sure to have negative keyword list. So what I noticed when we imported the keywords was that one of the keywords had the word, for example, divorce lawyer reviews. Now we don't want reviews. We want people that are affirmative in wanting to call. So we would need to add reviews into our negative keyword list. And since we already learned how to make a negative keyword list, this is essential, especially when you're importing large keyword lists in this manner. And then ultimately we looked at the ability to steal ad copies from the advertisers as well. So I hope you enjoyed that video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. Salute.